She blows out 40 candles on her birthday cake, smiling at the family she built. But inside her mind and heart, something cracks. The same woman who once begged for stability now feels suffocated by it. The same marriage she swore was her safe place suddenly feels like a cage. You think you know your wife. You think 15 years of love, children, and loyalty immunize her against this. But you're wrong, because around 40, something rewires in her brain. And when it does, she starts chasing danger like oxygen. Schopenhauer warned that marriage is a cruel jest of nature, a lie spun by biology to trick us into reproducing. At 20, that lie feels like destiny. At 40, it feels like death. Nietzsche took it further. Do you believe you'll enjoy talking to this woman into old age? If the answer is no, then boredom will turn into rebellion. Rebellion that destroys. Men out there think it's just a midlife crisis. They are wrong. It's an existential crisis. And when it detonates, it does shatter the wife. But it also takes down the husband, the kids, the family, everything. The question isn't if the bomb goes off. The question is whether you'll see it before it's too late. Something happens in every marriage that nobody wants to admit out loud. At first, it feels perfect. You meet her in her 20s, young, radiant, full of charm. She looks at you like you're the sun. You marry her, build a home, raise kids, and you think, we're solid. But here's the brutal truth. That forever love you believe in, it's not built on love at all. It's built on biology. Arthur Schopenhauer saw it centuries ago. He said marriage is just nature's cruel trick. It's a scam to get two people to reproduce. That's it. The butterflies, the passion, the romance, it's all smoke and mirrors. And when a woman hits her 40s, that illusion of smoke and mirrors crumbles. The wife who was once perfectly content playing house, suddenly she's restless. She feels trapped. She starts saying things like, I need space, or I don't know who I am anymore. And you're standing there confused thinking, what happened? I'll tell you what happened. The mask fell off. Schopenhauer called marriage a lie. Nietzsche called it a long conversation. Machiavelli called it a fragile alliance. And modern stats back them up. Nearly 70% of divorces after 40 are started by women. Your wife didn't change overnight. The illusion wore off. And when it does, the time bomb in her psychology explodes. Not if, when. You want to know the real reason women go off the rails at 40? It's because the hunger never stops. At 30, she was happy being a wife, a mom, your partner in building a life. At 40, she wakes up starving for something she can't even name. But philosophers do have a name for it. That's biology hitting reset. Schopenhauer called it the will, an endless, blind craving that drives every human being. But you don't need philosophy to see it. Just look around. The woman who was content making lunches and planning vacations suddenly feels like she's suffocating. Why? Because her hunger shifted. At 20, her hunger was beauty. At 30, it was family. At 40, it's validation. And validation is a drug. One compliment, one glance, one text from some random guy at the gym can send her brain into overdrive. You can give her 15 years of loyalty, but the thrill of being chosen by someone new will blow that out of the water in a second. Here's the brutal cycle. Unmet hunger equals pain. Satisfied hunger equals boredom. And so the cycle spins again. That's why your romantic dinners don't hit like they used to. That's why your weekend getaway feels like routine maintenance. She doesn't need comfort. She needs an emotional earthquake. And trust me, she'll go looking for it. That's why the most vicious betrayals almost always happen after 35. Not because women are evil, but because they're desperate. Desperate to feel something. Desperate to matter. Desperate to be more than just mom or just wife. It's like watching a pro athlete at the end of their career. He can't run like he used to, so he starts grasping for anything that will make him feel alive again. Comebacks, crazy stunts, even self-destruction. That's your wife at 40. And the scary part? This is not a phase. It's not a rough patch. It's baked into the wiring. Schopenhauer said life is nothing but endless striving, endless craving, and when that craving has nowhere to go, it turns destructive. That's why women in midlife don't just leave, they detonate. They don't quietly fade into the background. They chase chaos, chase drama, chase anything that feels like more. This is the part nobody dares to say out loud. A woman's entire sense of self is tied to being desired. From the time she's 15, the world tells her, be pretty, be wanted, be chosen. And for 2 decades, it works. Compliments, stares, men tripping over themselves to get her attention. Her identity becomes her reflection in the eyes of men. Then 40 hits. She looks in the mirror and sees a stranger. Not ugly, not worthless, just different. And that different feels like death. The face that once turned heads at every party now barely gets noticed at Starbucks. People think it's vanity. No, this is identity collapse. Imagine you're a pro NBA player. Your entire life, people cheered for you because of your speed and strength. Then one day, age slows you down. You're still decent, but you're not what you were. Your whole reason for existing is slipping away. Now multiply that crisis by 10, and you'll understand what's happening in your wife's head when her beauty fades. That's why women over 40 chase validation like addicts. The random compliment from a stranger? More powerful than 10 years of your steady devotion. Because your devotion is obligated. His attention is chosen. And when she tastes that chosen attention, game over. Botox, new diets, shopping sprees, girls' nights out. She's not trying to look good. She's trying to look young. Desperate selfies, desperate texts, desperate attempts to feel alive again. You thought your marriage was solid, but the truth? She's fighting a war against the mirror, and the first casualty is you. Here's the dirty little secret about women in their 40s. Appearances lie. She looks stable, loyal, committed. But inside, she's fighting a losing war against time, and that war makes her dangerous. Machiavelli warned us 500 years ago. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. That's your wife at 42. To the world, she's a loving mom. To herself, she's starving for attention, and desperation breeds deception. Remember what Machiavelli said, men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims. The deceiver here isn't a man, it's time, aging itself, and she'll do whatever it takes to trick time, new clothes, filters, drastic diets, and then an affair. Anything to prove she still got it. That's why married women over 40 are the easiest targets for seduction. Not because they're evil, because they're starving. One compliment from a man passing by the street can hit harder than 10 years of your loyalty. Why? Because your love is expected. His attention is chosen. And once she gets a taste of that chosen validation, brother, your family is on borrowed time. Machiavelli had another line. He who builds on the people builds on mud. Well, midlife women build on mud all the time, chasing shallow highs, tearing down stable marriages. Families crumble because her panic outweighs her vows. And here's the cruelest part. Society cheers her on. Friends hand her the wine glass and whisper, "You deserve better." Instagram feeds her transformation stories and new beginnings. Every scroll fuels the fire. What's left in the ashes? A husband blindsided, kids caught in the blast, a woman who thought she outsmarted time, but all she did was destroy everything she once claimed she loved. By 40, domestic life feels like a cage to her. Dinner routines, school runs, the same man she's been waking up next to for 18 years. Comfort? To you, maybe. To her, it's suffocation. Nietzsche saw it coming. What is good? All that heightens the feeling of power, the will to power. That's what midlife is for women, the craving to feel powerful again. Not as wife, not as mother, but as a woman who can still turn heads. Your romantic weekend feels like watching paint dry. Why? Because her brain is rewired. What thrilled her at 25 now bores her at 45. She needs bigger jolts, risk, chaos, betrayal, just to feel alive. Nietzsche asked the brutal question about marriage. Do you believe you are going to enjoy talking with this woman into your old age? Most men never ask it, and by the time she hits her midlife abyss, the answer is written on her face. No. So she rebels. She blows up stability to reclaim chaos. She now doesn't want conversation. She wants to feel the thrill of being chased again. Nietzsche called it the will to power. Schopenhauer called it endless striving. Whatever you call it, it's the same story. Boredom breeds rebellion, and the abyss, that's the danger. Nietzsche warned, when you gaze long into the abyss also gazes into you. That's what happens when your wife dives headfirst into midlife reinvention. She stares into the abyss of fading beauty, lost youth, and looming mortality. And instead of accepting it, she tries to fight it. Affairs, reinventions, self-destruction, all to escape the one truth she can't outrun. Time always wins. Here's what Freud figured out long before Tinder, Instagram, or Botox. What we repress will eventually erupt. And for women, that eruption usually comes in midlife. Freud said civilization itself is built on repression. Your urges, your desires, your instincts, all shoved down to keep society running. Marriage is the cage that holds all of that back. For 20 years, she played the role. The good wife, the loving mother. She smiled, cooked, showed up to soccer practice. But inside, the ID, that primal, irrational side, was pacing in the basement, waiting for its moment. By 40, it breaks the lock. That's why you see the sudden, drastic behavior shifts. One day she's posting family photos. The next she's buying lingerie, spending hours on her phone, chasing thrills like a teenager. Her unconscious desires finally broke through the surface. Freud called it neurosis, repressed instincts exploding into destructive behavior. And he was right. Your romantic dinner feels like background noise to her. But that compliment from a stranger, it's an emotional earthquake. Freud warned us in Civilization and its discontents. Repress the id too long, and it comes back with a vengeance. That's your wife at 42. The guilt she hides, the secret texts, the fights she picks out of nowhere. They're not accidents. They're the unconscious finally running the show. And here's the scary part. Once that eruption starts, there's no stuffing it back down. She'll torch everything. The marriage, the stability, even her kids' security, just to silence the voice inside screaming, I need to feel alive again. You want the most brutal truth of all? It's not culture. It's not Instagram. It's not even her friends pouring wine and whispering, you deserve better. It's biology. David Buss, the guy who basically wrote the book on mating psychology, says women are wired to value youth and beauty because that's what signals reproductive value. From 15 to 35, that program runs perfectly. Men chase, compliments flow. She feels alive. But at 40, the program glitches. Her body changes. Hormones shift. Fertility fades. Evolution never designed women for long lifespans. Back when humans barely lived past 40, this problem didn't exist. Now, modern medicine extends life, but the wiring hasn't caught up. That's why midlife women suddenly go insane chasing novelty, affairs, reinventions, validation from every other man. Their brains are demanding a high their bodies can no longer naturally supply. One study in Frontiers in Psychology confirmed it. Women past 40 shift from seeking resources in men to seeking affirmation, proof they're still desirable. That's why your devotion doesn't matter. It's locked-in loyalty. She craves the thrill of being chosen when she doesn't have to be. Nietzsche put it savagely, "In revenge and in love, woman is more barbarous than man." He wasn't exaggerating. That ferocity you see when she torches her marriage, it's biology's last stand. And here's the kicker. Men age in the opposite direction. At 40, society calls him a silver fox. His resources, status, and experience make him more valuable. Women, they're told they're expired goods. That mismatch creates the chaos. Men hit their prime, women hit the panic button. It's not about morality. It's not about right or wrong. It's about evolution. Biology doesn't care about your marriage. It cares about dopamine, novelty, and survival. And once she hits that stage, she's not leaving you for something better. She's running from biology's cruel joke and dragging everything down with her. You don't need philosophy to see what's happening. The data screams it. Between 2020 and 2025, study after study confirmed the same brutal pattern. Women over 40 are falling apart. A Science Daily report in 2025 called it the unhappiness hump. And guess where it spikes? Midlife women. Depression, anxiety, emptiness, all hitting like a freight train. Here's the stat that should terrify every husband. 69% of divorces after 40 are initiated by women. That's not a coincidence. That's biology, panic, and cultural lies all colliding at once. AARP and Canadian data show the same thing. Gray divorce rates skyrocketing. Families blowing up right when stability should be paying off. Freud would nod his head. Schopenhauer would say, "Told you so." Nietzsche would laugh at the absurdity. But you don't need philosophers to see the wreckage. Just look at the therapy bills of kids who watch their moms torch a marriage at 45. And here's the worst part. They almost always rewrite history. They'll tell everyone they were miserable for years. They'll erase every good memory, every photo, every anniversary trip, all so the story fits. Why? Because admitting they destroyed a good thing for a feeling would break them. So they lie to themselves and to everyone else. And this is not some random theory, it's numbers, hard evidence. Midlife for women isn't a gentle transition, it's a war zone, and the casualty list gets longer every year. If biology lights the fuse, society pours the gasoline. You know who your wife's biggest enemies are? Her friends, specifically the divorced ones. Don't name them friends. They're dealers. Dealers pushing a drug called "You Deserve Better." They sit around with wine, turning normal marriages into oppression and normal husbands into abusers. They need her to jump because nothing validates a bad decision like dragging someone else off the cliff with you. Machiavelli said it best. Almost all men are satisfied with appearances as though they were realities. Social media is the modern version of that. Appearances, filters, highlight reels. And your wife is scrolling, comparing her messy kitchen and tired husband to airbrushed fantasies. A 2024 study showed midlife women glued to appearance-focused content reported 30% more body dissatisfaction. 30%. That's not self-improvement, but self-destruction. Every scroll whispers the same poison. Start over. You're still special. It's not too late. And she believes it. She starts new skincare routines, buys clothes meant for her daughter's closet, posts selfies with captions about rediscovering herself. She's not fighting wrinkles. She's fighting reality. Freud would call it repression exploding. Nietzsche would call it chasing illusions. Schopenhauer would just shrug and remind us. Almost all our sorrows spring from our relations with other people. Society has weaponized her panic. Friends cheer it, media sells it, Instagram feeds it. And while she's chasing this fantasy of empowerment, the real cost is your family, your kids, your marriage. This is poison dressed up as progress. And by the time she realizes it, it's already too late. Here's the ugliest truth about women over 40. When the bomb explodes, it doesn't only break your marriage, it nukes everything in its path. Machiavelli warned, "He who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." And that's exactly what happens. She'll find some guy in the office, a co-worker, an old flame online. She'll tell herself it's innocent. She'll swear it's just friends. But inside, she's already gone. And to justify what she's doing, she rewrites history. Suddenly, your entire marriage was fake. I was never really happy. I was pretending. He was always controlling, every anniversary trip erased, every love letter dismissed, every memory twisted into abuse. Schopenhauer wasn't exaggerating when he said, "Marrying means to grasp blindfolded into a sack, hoping to find an eel out of an assembly of snakes." By 40, many men realized too late that they grabbed a snake. Nietzsche put it even more brutally. It is not a lack of love, but a lack of friendship that makes unhappy marriages. When the friendship dies, when the boredom sets in, she's not looking to fix it. She's looking to burn it down. And the collateral damage? Your kids. She tells herself they'll understand. She lies that they'll adjust. But kids don't care about mom's validation or dad's humiliation. They care about stability. And when she blows that up for a dopamine hit, she leaves them with scars no therapist can ever fully heal. This isn't just betrayal, it's annihilation. So what do you do if you're the man standing in the blast zone? First, listen to Schopenhauer. Beauty is no quality in things themselves. Translation: stop worshiping illusions. Accept that looks fade, passion fades, everything fades. Build your strength on reality, not appearances. Then take Machiavelli's advice. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. In marriage, you can't just be loyal and blind. You have to see the signs early, protect your assets, and prepare for war if she detonates. Nietzsche offers the harshest medicine. What have you done to overcome him? He meant suffering itself, the abyss, the betrayal, the destruction. You don't escape it. You use it. You let it harden you, sharpen you, rebuild you. And Freud? He'd tell you to face the unconscious instead of pretending it doesn't exist. Therapy, self-reflection, even cold acceptance, whatever integrates the chaos into something livable. Because denial is suicide. Modern psychology backs this up. CBT, midlife counseling, reframing aging. There are women who survive this storm with dignity and men who walk away stronger. But none of it starts with lies. It starts with staring the ugly truth in the face. Schopenhauer called marriage a lie, and midlife is when the lie gets exposed. Women don't go insane at 40 out of nowhere. They hit the wall, panic, and try to claw their way back to youth. And in that panic, they torch everything they built. Nietzsche reminds us, marriage should be a long conversation. But most couples stop talking years before the crisis. That silence, it's the graveyard of love. Machiavelli leaves us one last warning. Where the willingness is great, The difficulties cannot be great. If you're willing to face the truth about her, about yourself, about time, you might survive. If not, the abyss swallows you. So what do you do as a man? You recognize this isn't just your wife's battle. It's yours, it's your mother's, it's your daughter's future. It's a crossroads everyone faces. You either cling to illusions until they explode, or you walk the harder path of wisdom. Schopenhauer would say, accept the pendulum of life, pain and boredom, without illusions. Nietzsche would say, embrace suffering as the forge of strength. Freud would say, face the unconscious before it erupts. Machiavelli would say, protect yourself because fortune always turns. But the choice is yours, and the choice is brutal. Panic or power, illusion or truth, destruction or endurance. Because in the end, if a woman leaves at 40, she will never come back, even if she does return.